Art, God, and rebellion? Maybe. Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we are here for another poetry discussion, which will appear in several different playlists here on the channel. Number one being the poetry discussion playlist, now approaching 600 videos. Number two being the Edgar Allan Poe playlist, a playlist of videos exclusively about Edgar Allan Poe. And number three, the Horror Fest 2024 playlist, a playlist of 31 horror-themed videos in 31 days for the month of October 2024. Israfel, perhaps a little outside of the box of horror, but still it comes to us from Edgar Allan Poe, and there are some melancholy notes in the poem, so I think it fits well enough. I had to abandon some of my plans for this month just because of time constraints, but let's get into things. Israfel by Edgar Allan Poe. And the angel Israfel, whose heartstrings are a lute, and who has the sweetest voice of all God's creatures, from the Quran. In heaven a spirit doth dwell, whose heartstrings are a lute. None sing so wildly well as the angel Israfel. And the giddy stars, so legends tell, ceasing their hymns, attend the spell of his voice, all mute. Tottering above, in her highest noon, the enamored moon blushes with love, while to listen the red levin, with rapid Pleiads even, which were seven, pauses in heaven. And they say the starry choir and the other listening things that Israfeli's fire is owning to that lyre, by which he sits and sings the trembling living wire of those unusual strings. But the skies that angel trod, where deep thoughts are a duty, where love's a grown-up God, where the hoary glances are imbued with all the beauty which we worship in a star. Therefore thou art not wrong, Israfeli, who despisest an unimpassioned song. To thee the laurels belong, best bard, because the wisest merrily live and long. The ecstasies above with thy burning measure suit, thy grief, thy joy, thy hate, thy love, with the fervor of thy lute. Well, may the stars be mute. Yes, heaven is thine, but this is a world of sweets and sours. Our flowers are merely flowers, and the shadow of thy perfect bliss is the sunshine of ours. If I could dwell where Israfel hath dwelt, and he where he might not sing so wildly well a mortal melody, while a bolder note than this might swell from the lyre of the skies. So I want to go someplace that is a little bit different than the actual sort of narrative of the poem. The thing that I want to talk about here is starting with this. Israfel seems to be favored by God. Israfel is endowed with gifts, the gifts of song, the gifts of barddom. Israfel is special. Israfel favors art. So God favors Israfel, Israfel favors art. Don't you dare sing an unimpassioned song. It is the passion in the song that seems to be the most important part. Maybe. But this is also about perfection. There is an underlying assumption of perfection whenever we have the word heaven. There is an assumption of perfection wherever we have heaven and wherever there is an implied inclusion of God. So God, the perfect, favors Israfel. Israfel must have something perfect that Israfel favors, that is the artistic representation. One of the things for which Edgar Allan Poe does not get nearly enough credit is the rhythm in his writing. And rhythm is very difficult to produce, very difficult to manufacture. Otherwise, a whole lot more writers would have rhythm in their words, and they do not. For example, if you're looking for rhythm, The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe might be the very best example in all of English literature. It is so regular, it is so normal, but still we feel the song in the words. You can read The Raven at a mile an hour or 100 miles an hour, and it still feels rhythmic. To my reading, this poem does not. To my reading, this poem is disorienting. To my reading, this poem is very difficult to get through. Now, do not take my reading aloud as an example of that. I stutter and ruin every reading I do. But I want to look at this. In heaven a spirit doth dwell. In heaven a spirit doth dwell, tottering above. So you go from 8 to 5. Not a great big difference in syllables between the two stanzas there, but look at it on the page. We have all of these characters that take all of these space, and then 2 words. Whose heartstrings are a lute in her highest noon. Only 1 syllable difference between the second lines in these poems, but look at the difference on the page. You then have different length 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is a 6-line stanza. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another 6-line stanza. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-line stanza. 5-line stanza. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-line stanza to end things out. And you started with 3, 6, 7-line stanzas. 3, 6, 7, 8-line stanzas. I think this poem, when reading it, is extremely disorienting and not artistically pleasing. The rhythm seems to me to be almost there. The visual on the page is strange and disorienting. The rhythm is just a touch off. All of these things strike me in this poem, which means that our speaker, our writer, is not Israfel. So our speaker here, whoever is writing this poem, falls short of Israfel the same way that Israfel would fall short of God. God would be the perfect of everything. Israfel, arguably, the perfect of art, the perfect of song. Is this poem simply an observation of the shortcoming of man? Is this poem simply an observation that we cannot be Israfel within all of that limited perfection, but perfection nonetheless? And certainly we cannot be the robust perfect of God. Or is this poem a refutation of the cumbersome expectation of perfection itself. Is this poem and all of its minutiae stating, hey, perfection in art, screw it. We don't need it. That's not what we're here to do. Or are my observations completely wrong? That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I do on the channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, and there is poetry every Monday. I hope to have you back for the next one.